Hi, welcome to Citizen Survival Plan. In today's video, I want to talk about listening to emergency services and or using a ham radio like a UHF, VHF, or a DMR radio that is dual band, UHF, VHF, and DMR, to work as a scanner. We want to be able to listen to emergency services, fire and police, the dispatch, and the cars, simplex transmissions going off. A lot of misinformation and misunderstanding surrounds the internet with this. You don't always need a scanner, but in a lot of cases you do. So let's just start with your regular old Baofeng radio, and we're going to talk about what you can listen with this. So typically, if you're in a rural or country area and you're not in a major city, a lot of police departments are just on Narrowband FM, shown here. I'm going to show a lot of examples of exactly what I'm talking about here. This is all via RadioReference. So if you go to RadioReference.com, this is as simple as it gets. Type your zip code in to RadioReference.com and it'll pull in all of the emergency services and whatnot that's in your area. If you're lucky, everything is just going to be on Narrowband FM, shown here. So if you see this and you see frequencies in the 450s, even up into the 470s, and you see like 150s, this is all going to be attainable on just a regular old Baofeng. So if you take a look at the frequencies that just a regular $20 Baofeng can listen to, you're going to be perfectly capable of doing this. So there's not going to be any need to purchase a scanner or anything like that. Your services are still Narrowband FM. So easy, you just have to type it in. You could type it in on the keypad, or you could hook it into Chirp and write the frequencies in and name them. And you don't need to do tones or anything. I would just recommend turning off the transmit function so you're not interfering with anybody. There's going to be 2 or 3 cases where you can't listen on a regular Baofeng, and that's when you see these frequencies jump to the 700 and 800 megahertz band. Regular old UHF, VHF, analog FM radios are not going to be able to tune up that high. Now, you can go get a radio, maybe like Motorola or something would make one of these that could tune that high into what I'm calling ultra high frequency. I wouldn't do that. I would just spend the money on a scanner, because you're going to get a lot of other features with a scanner too, and the scanner is going to run up into those frequencies. But as with anything radio, anything can be done with enough time and money. I always just say, once you see that, it's time just to get a scanner. Another time, you're probably just going to want to buy a scanner or find some sort of low band VHF radio that can attain this. You're going to see stuff in like the 30s. This is down frequency, so this is very, very low VHF frequencies. And your regular handheld DMR or whatever ain't going to be able to tune that low. So it's not going to work. You need a scanner, basically. So here we have another example, and this is relatively rare. I do see this from time to time, but most of the time cops and fire are going to be on something called P25, which we're going to get into in a minute. But this is DMR. And if you have a DMR radio, you can listen to this. It's just going to take a little bit of extra work. So you're going to have a frequency. You're going to have the tone column here. You're going to have a color code. That's one, talk group 900. So you're going to have to go into your radio settings and make a talk group and just label it 900. And then when you go to your channel, which you type your frequency into, you're going to apply that talk group to that channel. You're going to see slot operation. It's typically going to be 1 or 2. If you have to, just make 2 copies of this channel with slot 1 and slot 2. And you can listen to both of those on there. For whatever reason, this one's not listed. It's normally listed. There's only 2 time slots anyways, so you can just try both. This is probably due to just the way that the data was input here. It just got screwed up. Typically what you'll see is it will tell you 1 or 2, and you will select that in your programming. So DMR is doable with a DMR radio. These run about, I don't know, 60 or 90 bucks. A scanner is going to be up into the 600. So with a little extra work, you can listen to emergency services on DMR radio. You're just going to have to program it yourself. Okay, last thing we're going to get into is P25. P25 is another digital mode that the cops and fire like to use. It's kind of like DMR, but a little bit different. It uses Talkgroups and stuff, and it can be encrypted. One thing I do want to mention really quick is anytime you see a DMR or a P25 radio chart and you see it marked with an uppercase or lowercase e, uppercase means it's always encrypted, and you ain't getting into that with anything. You'll never listen to it. The government has banished you from hearing anything that they're doing. And a lowercase e means that some of the channels within their P25 or DMR network are encrypted. Obviously, I put an example on the screen here. There's just nothing you can do once you get there. So there's no scanner or anything you can buy to decrypt encrypted signals. But with P25, if it's not encrypted and you see this, just get a scanner. The scanner is just going to be the easiest thing for you to deal with. This is be one of those times that you would just get a scanner. And I know there's going to be a lot of comments from hams and stuff like, oh, you can buy P25 radios and you can hook it up to all this software and do this. Most people aren't doing that. I just want to mention that to everyone who's watching this video, you're probably just going to want to buy a scanner at that point. So your most cost-effective and time-effective way to listen to P25. So to recap, if you're living in a rural area and you're not in some sort of major city, you're probably just going to need a regular old Baofeng radio, probably the cheapest one you could possibly get your hands on. Type those frequencies in and you can listen to whatever you want. You can also do it on chirp. That way you can name them. If you live in the city and you see DMR, you can use a DMR with a little bit of programming, or you can use a scanner like the SDS100 from Uniden. I'll link a couple scanners that you can use in the description here. And then if you see P25, as long as it's not encrypted, you can just buy a scanner and listen to that, and you'll get everything you need in there. And also, just to mention, if you just buy a scanner, if you have a mix of all these things where you see some P25, some UHF and VHF on NFM, Narrowband FM, and you see DMR, like if you just see it all in there, if you just get a scanner, it will listen to everything. But this video is really just to try and show you what you need and what you need to do. Sometimes you need a scanner, sometimes you might need a scanner, and sometimes you absolutely need a scanner. This is just to show you what you can do with some of these radios, where you can save some money, and how you can do this. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.